Nah, she probably just gave up that her series is ever going to get a continuation at this point. Cold open for this one featured probably the most obvious of obvious dream sequences of Doremi getting to have her steak and eat it too. Yeah, I'd sooner believe Disney being able to make another good Marvel movie without Deadpool before this girl ever gets her beef. Anyway, the episode proper opened with Doremi running late to school. Fortunately, since she also wasn't eating some toast, she didn't run into her classmate when she turned a corner. Then again, she had also never seen this girl named Kayako in her class, which of course would make you think that she's another certain anime cliche, even though the show has already done it with one of their main characters. Well, based on the fact that she was part of the regular roll call of their class, that wasn't the case at all. Also, Doremi clearly came in late during said roll call, but Seki gave her a pass probably because she needed to give herself a pass to the nurse's office. Of course, the rumor mill started buzzing because of Shriek, who, yeah, I was a lot happier when I had forgotten that her shrill voice was in the show. Anyway, they figured that Seki checking out was somehow because of the Truant Kayako, but those talks were stopped by Boruto's dad. Yeah, sorry kid, but I only take orders from guys with chins that can stab me. The Ojamajo seemed to figure likewise, as Doremi and Momoko snuck out and switched places with their fairies to check on Seki at the nurse's office. On a side note, Dodo paying her older in hamster form was cute as hell, just wanted to say that. Anyway, and conveniently, Seki was in the middle of an exposition dump with Yuki, as it was revealed that Seki suffered from a little fatigue due to constantly visiting Kayako after school to convince her to come in. Obviously, it didn't work out, but Seki was determined in spite of the fact that she couldn't handle both her regular class of chaotic misfits and this one special outlier. Fortunately, Yuki offered to go in her place that day, as she was also a guidance counselor, which is very different from a teacher. And yeah, at first this might seem like a smaller detail, but that's mostly because we don't have the full context of the situation, and therefore not the full gravity of it, but just keep that in the back of your mind for now. Of course, the two Ojamajo followed Yuki after school, and Doremi explained her being with Kayako that morning, and how it seemed like she was at least making an attempt to go to school, but of course seemed to pull out for some reason. And sure enough, when they actually went to see her, they failed to make any more progress than Seki likely did, though she did seem to become a little more defensive when she saw classmates that she barely knew. And yeah, Yuki was kind of right to hold back the loud American witch when she was about to stir the cauldron a little too much. With that, they decided to call it a day, with Yuki concluding that Kayako likely suffered from trauma, which, yeah, again, just keep that in the back of your mind. Still, they also concluded that it might have helped if she saw them as friends rather than just classmates. Thus, after not quite sleeping on it and getting intimate with a telephone pool, Doremi came to a resolution. If you dare say that you're dropping out because you want to become an influencer, then we're done. Now, of course, she figured that in order to befriend their truant classmate, she had to become one herself. Of course, she also didn't want to just sacrifice her own perfect attendance record. Thus, and fortunately, since they reintroduced the whole switcheroo ability in this episode, why not use it again? Well, aside from the fact that she might end up sacrificing the steak bowl from the cold opener. Hey, anyone I bet that she'll actually get that steak? And yeah, I figured. With that, she flew off and managed to spot Kayako heading to the library, as she at least wasn't a total hikikomori just yet. So she tried to meet up with her and strike up a conversation, to which the expert Truant rightfully called out the faker with basic logic. Still, our lead witch was, if anything, persistent, though also not very well mannered. Then again, I have seen a little worse. Body cam videos are the ultimate source of brain rot for me. Fortunately, she did end up learning that Kayako had a thing for flowers, which yeah, just based on a previous episode, it was pretty obvious where they were going with this. It was certainly clear that whatever Dodo was trying to convey to Reika. You better stop saying that, or else we'll get a copyright claim from a song about an infant and predatory fish, and don't show that image! Damn it! Back with Doremi and Kayako, they bonded over flowers and clown gazing. The latter ended up bringing up talk about steaks, which made the former realize it was lunchtime and she was missing out on her favorite protein. Thus, she tried to desperately win Kayako over with steak, but of course, she wasn't interested in cafeteria food of all things. As a result, Dodo ended up eating most of her lunch, which for some reason bought her kotake. What? She's just practicing for a local eating contest. Okay, but seriously, compared to all the other things in the show, it is a little weird that Kotake found Dodo eating as Doremi to be strange enough to drag Seki into the classroom. I don't know, it just felt a little forced to set up this gag of Momoko switching out Doremi with her fairy, leading to her missing out on both eating her steak and an onigiri. Sure, it was kind of funny, hence why I won't criticize it too much, but still, like the Ojamajo herself, the joke was slightly displaced. Anyway, I honestly think she managed to eat something better than cafeteria steak when she took Kayako to the Mahodo, where the two baked and ate some cookies over the Baking ABC insert song in a very cute montage where the two girls bonded to the point that they got on first name basis. And with that, the episode ended with Doremi winning her over and convincing her to go back to school. So yeah, I guess this is an okayish episode overall with nothing too special to it and What do you mean there's a few more minutes left? Oh, come on. What's going to change about my opinion if we just watch a few more minutes of this? Oh. Well, I guess I'm gonna have to eat some crow. Like, talk about an out of nowhere gut punch. Like, I already didn't like the Balchinian kid, but this one scene makes me actively hate this brat. And while this was probably the most appropriate outcome, I also didn't exactly expect it. Because I went in with the mindset that this was a kid's show in spite of all the other stuff I've seen in it, and yet they proved me wrong, and I'm really glad they did. Social anxiety is not something that can be fixed with just a wave of a wand, much less one that seems to stem from an inferiority complex which Kayako seemed to be afflicted with. This brief scene brilliantly got this across, especially here when she literally tuned out Doremi, the girl who was giving her positive reinforcement as her head was filled with nothing but negative thoughts. Just amazing stuff as the episode actually ended on the bitterest of bittersweet notes, as Doremi did receive a letter from Kayako assuring her that one day she'd go back to school with them. Yeah, that ending just kind of really made this episode. Like, I'm not gonna say it saved the episode, as the rest of it was actually quite serviceable, but yeah, that was just some great stuff. What can I really say at this point other than when this show tackles some serious topics, they just knock it out of the park. I'm not lying when I say I did think this episode was just going to end with Doremi fully befriending Kayako. If it had done that, I would have thought it was a fine enough episode with some decent laughs, even if the whole Doremi not getting her steak joke is getting really old by this point. And the message about being supportive of shut-ins was admirable enough. However, that little bit of admiration got upgraded to full-on awe when they dropped the hammer that was that ending. All of a sudden, this episode wasn't just a one and done, which for anyone suffering from crippling social anxiety, yeah, that's never really the case. Trauma can take on many different forms and can affect people in many different ways. And while I'm definitely not an expert on this sort of stuff, it is also important to recognize who can and should help such individuals depending on the situation. Most importantly, it has to be acknowledged that it is a process, and for that, I have to really praise the show about magical girls, showing that this stuff can't be fixed like magic. It's a message that I'm almost sure that most kid shows nowadays wouldn't highlight, and yet it's an important one to get across. Thus, overall, this is just a really good episode, mostly thanks to that ending, but still decent otherwise. Not everything can be fixed with magic, but that's why sometimes we just have to take things one step at a time. Thanks for watching this review that, yeah, is gonna have to come out a little later. Because we just had to get the bright idea to do a bunch of different shows this season, so we did have to move these Wednesday reviews to a little later in the day, if only to let the Gab review breathe a little. Still, do look forward to whatever comes next at this point. Until then, though, fair for now, my friends, and if you'll excuse me, I should probably go finish off that crow. It's actually pretty good, tastes like chicken.